again, just a really spectacular example of the catalytic effect of IPY. Not that these things would have happened otherwise, but I think we managed to capture these networks within the umbrella of IPY. So last and never least, I'd like to introduce Amber Church to just quickly introduce what the youth have been doing in IPY and how that's evolved from over the last 4 years. Amber.
Hi. So I'm going to speak just briefly about a couple of initiatives Dave alluded to in his presentation, the Youth Steering Committees and the Association of Polar Early Career Scientists. So back in 2005, as IPY, all the planning was getting going, the international documentation and planning documents started to come out. And there was this goal, amongst their other lists of goals, to involve the next generation of young polar researchers, which sounds fantastic, being one myself. And myself and my fellow Yukoner, Tyler Kuhn, who's hiding at the back and ignoring everyone back there, thought this was fantastic. We were kind of waiting to see what they would do. We waited a little bit more, and we started to realize, as probably everyone here now has, that everyone involved in IPY is incredibly busy. And they had this great goal, but no one had time to actually deal with it themselves. So we offered, maybe a little foolishly, to try and do it. And luckily, with the support of David and Karen, they let us form a youth steering committee in Canada in order to involve youth in Canada in the International Polar Year. About a month after that got started, the International Directorate got a hold of us and said, "We've appointed you to the co-chairs of the International Youth Steering Committee. Please go form it." So, which was a bit of a shock to the system, as you can imagine, but it actually took off incredibly quickly, and the enthusiasm of young polar researchers and youth around the world was incredibly evident in how fast things actually did get going and how fast we managed to get established. Right now, there are 10 very active national youth steering committees around the world. Many of them are from sort of what you would consider traditional polar countries, such as New Zealand, Canada, Sweden, but our most active committee is actually in Portugal. So we have people, the enthusiasm of IPY has definitely spread beyond into non-polar countries. Beyond that, we have about 50 countries represented in our membership. And again, many sort of more traditional polar countries, Australia, Russia, but then also Iraq, Iran, and Thailand, for example. So IPY is truly far-reaching, especially when you come to youth and their interest in global and polar issues and environmental issues. When we got going, like over the last couple of years, we've had a number of initiatives go through. Many of you heard about Polaris the other night, the book that Julie Cerneda edited and received an award for. Well, award was accepted on her behalf at the gala 2 nights ago. We also ran polar contests where youth ran projects, be them science experiments, drama, writing, art. And those went through a whole series of national competitions, and the winners went on expeditions to the Antarctic. Yeah, it's very cool. Our national committees have done a huge range of activities. Portugal has created board games about the Antarctic to teach youth. Most of the countries do school visits, run polar youth conferences and science fairs and science activities. Alaska runs a weekly IPY Science Cafe in the coffee shops around Alaska so that people can come in and talk about IPY and the science going on. As we progressed and got bigger and slightly more unmanageable, it occurred to us that we were called the IPY Youth Steering Committee, and IPY was eventually going to end, and eventually some of us might no longer also be youth, and some of those people still wanted to be involved. And you've heard the word legacy a lot today, and I'll use it again. We realized that we needed a legacy beyond IPY for the enthusiasm that we'd mustered and all of this energy and activities that were going on. We didn't want to lose it. So we've been transitioning since last fall into something called the Association of Polar Early Career Scientists. Yet another acronym, it stands for APEX. So APEX has grown out of Youth Steering Committee, and we've now managed to mainly transition all the way through to it. And we have, again, all of our national groups still represented, but also a huge series of topic groups. So there are represent the society, there are organizations for earth sciences and biology and cryosphere, etc. And also various sectors in terms of what people were really passionate to work on. So education and outreach, career development, social and environmental issues. There are strictly science committees as well, and policy. And also, again, since I said some people will no longer be youth, we've tried to put in place a mentorship model. So as our members get older and get farther on in their career, they can be mentoring new members who are joining the organization. The organization's been recognized by SCAR and IASC and many of the international polar organizations, and it looks like we now have in place something that can outlast IPY and continue. Looking into the future, some of the projects that are underway right now, for the first time ever, next year, the Arctic Council and the Antarctic Treaty will have a joint meeting. And we're working with them right now to get a youth forum in place to happen at that meeting so youth can actually talk to the international delegates and bring their concerns forward. We are working with teachers worldwide to put together an education booklet so that all of these activities that have been developed over the last 3 and 4 years can be translated into a whole number of languages and can be used, and people will have those resources, whether they're a scientist trying to go into the class and speak, a young scientist, or they're a teacher just trying to teach about the polar regions. There's a polar time capsule program going on for the end of IPY, where youth will be able to express their feelings and their thoughts about IPY through writing and art, and we're working on having that buried at the South Pole to be opened in a future polar year with a GPS so we can find it again. Fingers crossed. And there's a whole series of networking and career development workshops going on for those people in the organization who are perhaps finishing their PhDs or in their PhDs now or doing their postdocs. So we're trying to present something for the wide range that we're supposed to be trying to accompany and deal with. I'm going to stop now since I know we are far over schedule already, but thank you very much.